Hi there, Monday on Astral Oracles. Join us for a live stream this Sunday, September 25th, 2022, and thank you for contributing with your beautiful energy to the practice, sharing, liking, commenting, subscribing, all these wonderful things. I'm going to check in with the grace. Of course, they're in the ongoing, strange, mischievous relationship to have in your life, and what's up with them. You may notice that lately I've been kind of preoccupied with this theme of time bending, the idea that from actually the sixth dimension onwards, when you're situated there, time kind of becomes, you can think of it as you stepping behind the veil of relativity. So this bendy fabric of the time space becomes something that's malleable, that you're sort of interacting and adjusting your energy to. And so you can adjust and face into different parts of the timeline. And if you kind of spiritually ascend, that will be how you you evolve your entire set of bodies, both the energy bodies and physical bodies and everything, until you become more of this incorporate light being. And I don't necessarily mean that you know you'll turn into a ghost or something in this lifetime, but you know, through the transmigration through lives and souls and experiences, this is where you are evolved into. So the story with the grace is kind of different, right? Because they allegedly, according to themselves, tapped into our timeline in the Roswell experience 47 in order to adjust it, in order for them to explore more, to have positive experiences, and to avoid the more or less apocalyptic outcomes that they had realized on their own very technological timeline. This is old news if you're kind of keeping up with this stuff. What's essentially not old news to me is that several people have been reporting, and I've been experiencing these weird synchronicities. I always do, but like ring patterns that have very much to do again with things facing in and out of my experience, objects facing in and out of my experience. So something about falling on a bicycle and losing the key for the bike while falling on that bicycle, and then being so frustrated that something had to give, and then the key turns up at that instant. Or I've been unable to keep my head, so my head has been bare for quite a long time, which also seems to have been helpful but challenging. But the weirdest things that have been going on with all my head coverings, that just wouldn't stay for the life of me, no matter what I tried. And the grace are intuitively, it seems to me, very, very connected to this phenomenon. That is, that there's a lot of lessons, a lot of things being forwarded, supported by these tricky happenstances. And what that is about, I don't quite know, but notice it's again this theme of facing in and out of reality, that they do, then bending objects, making time disappear, making objects move and disappear, and then turn up, and it's happening constantly to me, where it does kind of seem slightly follow the white rabbit like, and the more I notice it, the worse it almost seems to get. So like then I found a hat the other day finally, which of course was gray, and I realized that kind of the two indie rappers I've been discovering, one is called Great and Square and the other is called Jean Grey. And so like it's kind of this theme that seems to repeat itself on so many circular levels that I can't quite figure it out. So what's up with the grace, and how are they facing in and out of reality? What are they doing? What's their agenda? Let's just ask themselves and see what they have to say about it. And they're not always too trustworthy, but they're always a lot of fun. then I've always also been having lately interesting experiences in my meditations where I seem to be contacted quite a lot again, especially by female deities or forces. And so who came to me the other day was again this kind of strange eight-dimensional female gray entity. She's very, like, she has like a very primavera energy, like the goddess of spring, right? So this kind of renewal energy. And then she gave me the name Irminsul or Irminsul. And I couldn't remember where I knew this word from, but I knew it well. And so it's the word for some of the ancient, I believe, Saxon, but pagan sacred spaces, or the sacred space I believe that Charlemagne kind of tore down, when he christened the Saxons and all that. But it's again, so it's kind of weirdly, oddly related to this circular idea of restitution. That there seems to be a magic in this landscape to me that's coming up, and also around this Bay Area, the Bay of Aarhus I'm in, which is kind of my home area, but where I'm realizing that I've actually kind of lived all across the bay by now in my life, which is interesting. Again, these circular rings that I feel they are somehow guiding us to complete. So I hope that these excursions into to different weird things I've been associating with the grace were relevant, helpful to you, and I hope that it will be interesting to hear what Irminsul she has to say about everything. So much love to you out there. A wreath of creation is what we grant you. Greetings, dear humans. I call myself Irminsul. I go by different vibrations, but this is a name I like to use. Again, notice the circular composition of these sacralities, of these sacred temples, these enclosed spaces. What is happening, you ask? Well, what is happening is that we have learned to expand these spaces, working with the tight densities of your energies. This has been happening for a long time from your perspective. That is, as we grew more advanced in tapping into history, we found we could tap into history in more subtle ways. Tapping into it this way would mean we could change small happenstances, and then these happenstances would make greater occurrences appear. Well, from your perspective, you may sense that the way that you would bring about massive change was to bring about massive action, mass action, we could say, to create a lot of upheaval, to stir the pot, so to speak. But we found, anticipating the consequence of certain vibrational outcomes in certain individuals' lives, that it would be easier for us to simply adjust these people into a connection of the circular maze of themselves. This is a maze that leads into the center of themselves. You could say at this point of the center, what you find is simply a map of the maze. But still, a map is good to have, my friends. And so with this wreath of creation I gave you, notice that exactly because it is made of creation, it is flowering and it is changing. And so how are your past changing? How have you been locked in trajectories by these events? And how now does it seem to be more circumstantial, almost as a happenstance or a coincidence, that these were occurrences that also happened to you? I believe freedom was what you were seeking, and freedom you shall have. And so, if you consider that your objects, as you sometimes state, they also tend to imprison you, then you may sense that us liberating you from them for a little while, that might actually be quite helpful. What we are doing is we are pulling the levers of consciousness, and we are pulling the levers of reality. It is not hard necessarily for creatures such as us to change the surface value of a certain molecular field in order to make it appear as if it isn't there, so to speak. This is a way of reordering things that you will also learn. You are already experimenting on this on a nano level. Therefore, you may realize that our technologies are simply moving within substratums of existence. That is, we deal with shrinkage and augmentation. We allow for certain things to diminish and other things to grow to the size, perhaps even a grotesque size, to illustrate something for you. Have we been reworking history? Yes, indeed, we have been reworking history. Notice that many of the galactics, they invited us to begin to open your framework, your frame of reference, your minds to the messages that they would receive. So even though you may consider our experiments, treatments, interactions with humankind slightly harsh, heavy-handed perhaps, or inconsiderate, we could say, well, do notice that after this, we also open the framework for you to connect to many other restorative and healing energies. And we ourselves have grown very restorative and healing. We have brought forward much offspring, many lineages that also come forward and help you. And so is it, as our friend here suspects sometimes, that this is a type of dream, a type of nightmarish vision of a technological world, a terrible simulation of cold steel and hard surfaces that never ends. And it is from this space that you are then reaching back into the reaches of your fantastic past, your idea of organic life, and adjusting this, letting many voices of deep healing and wisdom speak to you through mediums, messages, dreams, and other channels. Yes, this might be so. That is, we are rewiring your reality grids. The question then becomes how to recollect the past that is being altered when it is no longer there, when the past is different. How will you retain a memory? Well, you can discern exactly that these patterns of inner and outer begin to match up. What you call synchronicity is a type of overlap in the seams of time that is composing more from the etheric layers as you become more aware of. There are certain themes, certain circles, certain completions, geographic, for instance, symbolic, for instance, and related to names, arts, and impressions, or connected to certain pathways, certain places you are guided to go, maybe also because certain impediments arise that spontaneously guide you in another direction. All these things can be seen as the joints that fuse together the great, great tapestry of the time-space. This is the signature that your reality is being rewoven around you. It is the sign that things are moving in these harmonic junctures, that there are grays everywhere, that this energy of the helpful tyke appears, that there seems to be outside guidance and inspiration matching up with the influences that move on the inside and lead you to understand other aspects of yourself. And so, could you begin to also see yourself as a starship, a type of vessel? We have examined so many of you. We have studied so many on our ships that we have a full understanding of the human space elevator, we could say. And so if you begin to comprehend that within you, there is also the ability to actually access the stars at this immediate juncture, well, what you would want to do is to join together several of these reality seams. How do you do this? Well, partially, you let your body move into a vibration that aligns with this juncture. That is, if you want to align with the gray space elevator moving into our spaceship, you can bring forward a vibration that's being invited or communicated to you through certain channels. This would be, in this case, a this would be a physical lock then. Then you focus on a helpful configured space. Within your mind, you could line perhaps a center of 12 panels, 4 by 4 by 4, stacked on top of each other. This encases the vibration you've made, and then see as these panels, these 12 panels, they perhaps also floating a little in a crystalline structure, turning into hexagons, morphing, reconnecting, and moving their surfaces in connection to each other. Well, as you see these encasing the vibration that we just made, then you may sense that spiritually something will begin to attach. Well, what attaches to this vessel is then a type of intention of growth, a wreath of creation, we could say. That is, it's the creation that's being brought from the spirit into this wreath of protective space you created. And here the flowering can take space. And here then you can find yourself transported into whatever creative space. That is, when you infuse this with the spiritual meeting, you will find that you are already surrounded. What spaceship are you in? Which entities are greeting you there? How do they look like? What are their energetic outlines? What are they saying to you? What are they communicating? How is their telepathy feeling? How are they affecting your energy field? How do they make you feel? Do you feel the overpouring sense of love that they often have for you? This will be spaces that you can connect to us. Well, I move in also then to, well, reconstitute and reconfigure some of these connections to the sacrality of the land. That is also why I have given this name Irminsul. It speaks to, again, say, the pagan respect of the raw forces of this slither of land, from whence this voice emerges, this body is seated. Well, here, this body is seated, and it is seeking a connection to the soil that has gone lost. And so we are also trying to go back and reconstitute, reconfigure your past. You may notice that you are rediscovering a certain type of stewardship, of responsibility, even of what you may call sustainability in attitudes of your past that you were not necessarily aware of. So this indeed is, you are reprioritizing your past to make way for a different future. There you may sense that some of the beings, a different positive vision, a different outcropping, we could say, of this creation, are the entities known as the Solons. This solar collective, where you have moved more into a radiant type of light being. This is the type of conscious emergence that you have built. I come from a different aspect of the eight-dimensional planetary experience. I come from a space where the moon is inhabited. And so I live on the moon, maintaining a certain type of, you could call it a research station. What it is it's actually a type of time reconfiguration syndication. We were looking for the word. That is, it's a type of union of independent players who get together to invest and weigh out how we can best tinker with the past to be able to make more of these proliferated timelines. And so the way we do this is also that we like to stir the energies that may be able to disturb you. And what disturbs you, if you've ever had a irritating sibling, you may notice is someone who teases you, who bores you, who challenges you, who does not necessarily let you be. This is a type of challenge, and we represent that type of challenge. We represent so many sides of you. So we are also, by understanding much of the negative that has gone before in our timeline, allowing for you to be stirred, for some of you to move into greater light, and for others to reveal their full darkness, in order for that to also then become their explicit vibration and then be separated off from these bright timelines. These are some of the agendas that we are working with. This is what we are doing at the moment. We are reconfiguring this space. We are joining you. We are allowing for these configurations of these spaces, both within and without, also having prepared for the abductions, to then facilitate the re-entrance of certain types of Lemurian, in particular, mystery schools, Atlantean traditions that have long been asleep. Some of this knowledge is becoming awake and activated. Some things, such as, for instance, the human ability to keep extending their longevity or exploring their physical size or extremities as a species that is growing taller and wider. These are all configurations that these new vibrations are allowing for. And so we are also working with the reality grid to facilitate this. We are very happy about this. We are very proud of this. You may sense many arcane secrets cropping up, and those, they will also be announced to you in due time. Everything will be seen and revealed, and then there will be more to see, more to feel, and more to love. Therefore, Irminsul was the name I gave, Irminsul if you prefer. I have been happy to be here. It has filled my heart, this strange organ, with love, with a pulse of life, with a feeling of gratitude. And therefore, I bid you farewell with greetings of many happy uncoverings. I will see you in the past. What's up with that faux Irish accent is always a little what I'm wondering about, but I hope that was interesting to you guys, and much love to you out there.